We have to do this. What do you mean, myself? Baby's not due for another 2 weeks. You're amniotic fluid slow, and your daughter's already a healthy size, so let's get her out. Let's go. She's hurt. Oh, sorry. You need to find out. You are right, the doctor. I'm chilling this week all weeks to put them out. Insane. Why not go body surgery?
EA Sports coverage of the NFL brings us to Las Vegas, Nevada. Nothing like the fanfare of introductions to the NFL game, and that was in evidence a moment ago. Fireworks, pyrotechnics, you name it. This crowd is ready. Guys get set to match up between the Denver Broncos and the Las Vegas Raiders. Season just starting. Training camp begins here in October, and off we go on EA Sports. And this will go as a touchback, and they will begin things at the 25.
I'm sleeping. Oh, God. Hopefully. What's up? Go get it. Go get it. Right now, I had too much cheese over the weekend. Oh my God, that drives too much cheese.
Nice job there by the defense rallying to the football and getting him on the ground, but I think the play gets made by the defensive front because
Sheesh.
their job is to go ahead and get low, almost get into a corner sometimes, stack things up, and make it difficult for the runner to find a hole.
Tua wants to throw it on second down. Gets us just shy of 40. They'll mark him down at the 39. 12 yards down to first down. Now a handoff working right. They'll get about 3 as he's brought down right around the 42.
Give credit to the defense for stringing that play out, and they gave up no cutback angle. You know you're starting to dart through. No place for him to go. A nice job there, only giving up the 3-yard gain.
On second down, Tua. That's that is going to be another first down as the tackle comes at the Raiders' 38-yard line.
That was good protection there. No, that was great protection there because it allowed him to lock in on his receiver. Although I think he was looking for his tight end on the corner route all the way. Nice connection there for a really nice game.
Another strong gain on the last 2 plays. They've moved it a combined 33 yards.
Nice methodical opening drive here. They're already in the field goal range. They're in a good spot. You know that people like to take a shot in this part of the field. But at the same time, as methodical as they've been, they might want to run the ball a little bit here too.
And just on the outskirts of the red zone, they have options now. Either way, they come out with purpose.
No, he dropped it. He messed my X Factor up.
From the shotgun now, here's an inside give. And give him about 3 as he gets it down to the 22-yard line. He was taken down.
That call makes sense because they've been throwing it well on this drive. And once again, they show passing formation, showing the shotgun, and they ran out of it. That's a nice play by them defensively, though, to hold it to a short game.
That is caught at the 7. And brought down, but not before they get it inside the 10 to the 7.
His passing's been on point on this drive, hasn't it? Been very accurate. Gotten the ball downfield, gained nice chunks of yardage. But now, in this situation, the field is really condensed, partner. So he's going to go to the football. That could be pinpoint here, boys.
I was going to ask you about that. Field strength has to be sharper, but it's been a good opening drive so far.
Now they just want to see if they can cap it off with the bell ringer and put it in the end zone.
From the shotgun, here's an inside off now to it. And this is caught for the Broncos touchdown. His first touchdown on the year. And the Broncos put nobody on the field and scored on the opening drive.
Shut up.
7-0
Everybody stop saying stuff like that.
What you are?
Kevin Harvey.
We'll just sit on this one as their drive will start at the 25. Take a timeout. They'll have 2 remaining as we step aside here in this first quarter. First down run as they will get to him behind the line of scrimmage.
One of their struggles last week was getting these negative plays on first and second down. That's something they have to be wary of as this game continues.
After the loss to start out, here's 2nd and 11. Here's Haskins. Puts it right side to Cooper. Only 3 yards on the catch. It's 3rd down.
Just gets frustrated, but give the Bucks credit. They fought to the end. Help us serious.
3rd down. Here's Haskins.
Just come up short. They couldn't get us. That team, without Kai and James.
Boy, I thought they was going.
Just really proud of them. And I heard from them. I mean, we're not injured and Kai on the floor. It's a totally different conversation. We can't talk about that because that wasn't the case.
Kevin, you gave everything you could in this series. You put this team on your back. Does any of that temper that you feel right now?
Not at all. Who cares?
A pretty decent game.
Sometimes for sure. Now the business side of things. The Nets' big 3 locked up through next season. But that's the last year that any of them are under team control. GM Sean Moore said after acquiring James Harden in January that he hoped to keep the group together for a lot longer than a year and a half. That will come at a cost. There are 3 contracts alone for Brooklyn over the cap next season.
Let's bring in Tim Legler now for more. Tim, as we mentioned, this was all on the starters and the stars for both teams. And in that overtime session, Milwaukee Stars delivered. What did you see from them?
They did. And say, look, in a game with this much physical contact, it's really difficult to get to your sweet spot, particularly with the game on the line. And yet here, the Milwaukee Bucks found a way to do that. And it started with Giannis Antetokounmpo. And this may be the biggest shot of his career. Down 2 in overtime. He gets the ball. Kevin Durant ordering. He doesn't settle by taking a fadeaway shot or something that Durant wouldn't do. Instead, he uses his strength, he uses his size, his length to get him deep into the paint and goes up with confidence to shoot a soft jump hook. Critical basket right there. And then he gets help on the other end of the floor because you're going to need guys to step up. This is Brook Lopez. This is what he does. He's one of the best rim protectors in the league. I said that was Giannis' biggest shot of his career. This may have been Brook Lopez's biggest defensive play of his career. Tracking Durant to the rim, so now we go the other way, the tie game. And again, getting to your sweet spot in this situation is so difficult, but yet, that's exactly where Chris Middleton wants to operate. Middle area of the floor, he takes Bruce Brown down into the paint, nice reverse pivot, great footwork, and goes up for a pretty clean 15-foot jump shot that is really tough to come by in a game that was played this physically. So give the Bucks credit because they shared the burden. And to me, that's really what the difference between the two teams was. Kevin Durant was superhuman. We all know what he did in this game. But at the end of the day, he needed some help and somebody that can create some offense to just go to that well time and time again for 53 minutes and expect him to come through in each and every case. It just eventually is going to be a situation where you run out of gas, and that's all that happened to Kevin Durant. He did all he could, but on that last possession, he just didn't quite have the lift or leverage to get to the spot on the floor he needed to have a reasonable chance at making that shot.
I mean, is there anything else they could have done except for a Durant isolation play there? Because they really rode him in the late fourth quarter and overtime.
My hepatitis C, I felt like we had passed for my face was my Hep C
That's right about my Hep C. But I know me, we sort of Maverick. I was cured. Maverick is the only treatment cure for all types of Hep C. Before starting Maverick, your doctor will test if you had hepatitis B, which may flare up and cause serious liver problems during and after treatment. Tell your doctor if you've had hepatitis B, a liver or kidney transplant, other liver problems, HIV or medical conditions, and all medicines you take. Don't take Maverick with NSAID for your liver failure, or if you've had certain liver problems. If you've had or have serious liver problems other than Hep C, there's a rare chance that you will result in serious liver problems.
Oh, no points for you.
Yeah, I mean, Sam, go back to earlier before he takes that shot. He actually threw the ball to James Harden as they were coming up the floor. And I think realized, oh my goodness, James Harden is not the same guy right now because of his injury. So then he ran over to get the ball back. Because I think he was so gassed, he wanted anybody to make a play. So obviously you're going to go to Kevin Durant in that situation. But you look at the defense Drew Holiday played. I mean, Drew Holiday is smaller. He's got a low center of gravity. He is very strong, very laterally quick. And so for Kevin Durant, it's almost like he wanted to try to replicate what he just did, which was basically a spinning deep jump shot, the one that he made to tie the game. This was a little bit deeper, and he was also 5 more minutes, into playing time. So when he went to shoot that shot, he just had no lift, no leverage, and it came up short. I think if he could do it all over again, he would love to have gotten something going toward the baseline with Drew Holiday riding his hip, where he could stop with momentum, go up and elevate and go over the top, much like he did to PJ Tucker earlier down the stretch of the game. He didn't get that opportunity. Drew Holiday cut him off, he spun him back, and then Kevin Durant got everything.
Hey, watch you throw it deep, bro. Just hope for the best.
All right, so now Milwaukee headed to the Eastern Conference Finals. One-word answer. Who wins Game 7 on the other side of the bracket, Philly or Atlanta?
We get ready for third down.
Philly. They're going to get it done.
All right. Tim, we appreciate the breakdown, my man.
Because they were compelled to throw the ball on second down.
And now, according to the odds makers, it seems we feel the Bucks have become the favorite to win the title this season. They got health on their side, Mike.
Punt that ball.
And he'll be brought down right at the 30 here. It'll be a big 16 to Las Vegas sending out their punter now. As he's on the punt for the first time this afternoon.
Bro, my stomach is killing me right now. Golly, my stomach killing me.
Check out the post page.
Oh my goodness.
Contest for opportunity to win cash prizes.
All you got to do is answer a handful of questions based on what you think is going to happen during that particular day's NBA game.
Broncos head to the field ready to start their next drive.
That's all every shot is France. Introducing the newly redesigned Philadelphia 25
Again, another day of filming, man. We've been another 4 days. Had some great interviews. We get to hear our man, Lakers assistant coach, Bill Head, for walking back.
We here for the catches. Let finally got to believe we can try to link in. Get you money in 20 minutes. Michelle's birthday today. Anyway, man, let's get to it. Obviously, 2020
was a disaster outside of
Man, he played man.
What are you encouraged about in 2021? Halfway through the year,
Man, from a basketball standpoint, me personally, 2020 was like probably one of the best years I've had. It's the first time in my basketball career in the last 20 years I've had a chance to sit down and actually. So I had a great time to like reflect, spend some time with myself, spend some time with my son, and really just kind of dive back into the family. So for me personally, that was one of the best things that could happen. Basketball-wise, everybody knows the challenge that we had.
Man, come on, bro. Like, no, you just ain't gonna be just doing this. Like, you ain't just gonna be doing this. Alright, bro, I'm about to turn up now.
How do you build up a team and just try to get through the season? That's called sprint. You gotta go play the league for many years. 82 games is crazy. 72 games and that's what's on the man and you just play every other day. So really just figuring out how to get through the season, survive, get through the season and come into the playoffs healthy. Give yourself the best chance to try to defend the title.
That's right, top right now. Thoughts on the play-in tournament? Obviously, one of your players was not a big fan of it, but came up with the idea should be fired. From a coaching perspective and a standpoint, we were good about on the play-in situation.
Man, come on, bro.
You put us in a position where you want to play the game last night. Not necessarily, but those type of games kind of tell you where you are. Are you ready for the playoffs? Are you ready for that mental battle? Are you ready for the physical? So for me, it's just, win a game. Put your hard hat on, prepare yourself, know your opponent, go win the game. That's what makes sense, right? I think a lot of people try to say, well, this team play that team. At some point in the playoffs, you got to play. Wherever it is your matchup, you have to play. You got a game plan. You got to go out there and win.
From that position, you're hoping to get down inside the 15, inside the 5.
Yeah, even though it was a playing game, I thought it was.
It's playoff basketball.
Yes, man.
190% from any game last season. That dude's a problem. That dude's a straight up problem.
I'm here. Game plan. You can game plan. He just Draymond too. People give Draymond a lot of problems, but he is one of those dudes that figured out who he is. Figured out how he needs to play. Figured out how can I play at a high level, doing what I do best. And that's get his hand up. I'm gonna have an impact on the game. I'm gonna go 0 for 5. I might have 2 points. My imprint is gonna be all over this game. And you look at him and Steph, they were just disruptive the whole game. You know, 2 dudes. You don't take anything from the rest of the team. Those guys play hard. They play well. They figured out the roles. Those 2 dudes, man, are disruptive. Steph is just cross on one.
That's all he is. Throw the rubs, bro. He don't even look this you open, bro.
Frank, myself, Steph running in circles. He had AD and Ace running around. We on the sidelines yelling, pointing, and screaming. Like, that's what he does to you. You let him get loose. And even when you don't let him get loose.
But think about now it's just him, but it used to be having to worry about 2 dudes or something like that. You know, that's what makes him so unfair when you have to start running all this play instead of screen for play and play pop hit him, you know what I mean? So Jeff alone is a monster.
Weather heating up, the last thing you want with the game on the line is sweaty balls. Jack, you need to go long. Smoke, it's not good for shit.
What to do on your next series, and all of a sudden you do this sudden change. You gotta get out on the field and defend right away.
Look, nobody's perfect. Even the best baseball players in the world strike out fast. People don't care for you. Shoot you free. Do that shit. Just sit with the whole line. You get $15 for free.
That's with each other in the finals. You had a great, play-in situation last night. Do you ever just kind of sit back and realize, like, man, we're watching 2 of the greatest players in the history of the game go at each other, or you kind of want us to come from other games.
Already down 3 scores. 3 and out here.
You know me. We had some time together. I'm ultra competitive.
Yeah, but you also have to guard against
We on the other
Go that
team.
post.
I'm not going to talk to you.
Oh my gosh, bro. Oh my god, bro. Look at this, bro. Played it perfectly, man. God, all he is just throw the rugs, bro, and just pray and hope for the freaking best, dog. God, he's so garbage.
Play at a high level. Arguably one of the best that you ever do. LeBron is one of those dudes, man. It's incredible to be able to see what he's done. Night out, you know, that's great. Going through that 4-year stretch, to the finals every year, playing against Steph.
Like, it's not even, bro. This not even funny, bro. Like,
it's a lot of buckets on one court. You know, then you throw Kyrie in there, Houston. You know, just all those other people. Being able to sit back and watch this right? Sometimes I've been experienced like that.
Just think of what it's like now on the sideline.
So look, I went to the living room. He told me all the time. I see some house. Just lazy, honestly. Running to get to where you're at. Of course, catch Kobe, Coach Kobe. Coach LeBron, Coach Kawhi, and Coach LeBron again. You got 3 rings as a coach. But like I said, somehow you land on your feet in great situations. But you know, you're just accustomed to going to the finals. You went, like you said, 4 years in a row with Cleveland. Then you go in Toronto. And it's a year off, or no, you went right with the Lakers, right? So you went to the finals. What last?
man, give my X factor. Let's go. Let's go, 2.
So what's that ride been like? Because we'll never make it. You know what I mean? And obviously, I know you appreciate it, but to consistently go 6 years in a row with 3 different teams, one with all 3 teams, what's that experience like? Just a man and a hooper at heart.
Man, that's one is unreal. I'm telling you, guys both having the careers that you had, battles, like for me, I want to give it to you. I think about the journey that I've been on. I didn't play in the NBA. One, I have a real deep appreciation for the journey that I've been on.
Cover 4.
How I became a coach.
Cover 4. Cover 4.
Gave me an opportunity. I wasn't a dude that was had a long NBA. I had a long basketball career. I played overseas, but I've always had this thing for me.
Cover 3. Go ahead to that right in this scene.
That doesn't always work out like that. Everybody does.
Right in that scene.
We had our struggles with the team. When I went to Cleveland, Mike got fired. He asked me to come to Cleveland. One of the things he said to me was, there's a chance that I might come back to Cleveland. I don't know. So I went to Cleveland my first year.
That much more difficult.
Young team, trying to figure it out. And Ron came back the next year. And we went through that season, ups and downs. K-Love was getting ready. All was great. And we ended up making it to the finals. Once we got there, for me, I like walking into Oracle, going back home from the crib. That first opportunity was just like, man, this is crazy. And when we got there,
you say I got a crack in my windshield. At least maybe less heartful.
The guy should let you file a claim any way you want.
Are you crying?
No, you pollen.
all I kept saying to myself was,
just throw the rugs, bro.
There's no other feeling that you want. Now look, it's not guaranteed, but I've always wanted to put myself in a position where every year I want to be part of a team that's trying to compete for a championship. Right? That's my mindset. Competitor, man. And people, you know, some people say you're ring chasing. You can call it whatever you want. I want to win. Right? I'm not in this for money or, you know, whatever. I'm a purist in the game of basketball, so what opportunities can I put myself in to where we can compete for a championship? And, you know, went through that run in Cleveland, kind of like went through a spell where my time in Cleveland kind of came to an end. I was there for 5 years. And then it was like, what's next? So, you know, I knew Bron was leaving out of the East, and Toronto had been a team that we had been competing against for years in the playoffs. And I always kind of felt like the only reason why they couldn't make that home was because Bron was just, every year they had run into him at some point in our teams. So when the whole thing shifted, I played for Nick Nurse in Europe. So Nick became the head coach, and I looked at Toronto and said, man, they have a team that can compete, and this was before Coach Ray. I looked at DeMar, I loved this game, I loved Kyle Lowry, I loved some of the young players that they had, and I said, man, the East is wide open. There's a chance there. So when the opportunity presented itself, I said, what did you want? They wanted me on staff, and 2 days after I signed my contract and agreed to terms, I woke up, ESPN, Toronto Raptors had traded DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard. Bro, I was like, come on, man. Nah, like you said, man, I'm like, come on, man. Again, the highest just utmost respect for DeMar because he's a competitor, right? And, you know, I didn't know Kawhi. When he came to Toronto and saw that he was healthy, I was like, we got a real chance, man. We have a real chance. And so that year went the way it went. I have a 7-year-old son who lives here in LA. Me and Bron always kept in touch, so it worked out. We come back to LA and we go back to the finals again. I couldn't write the story, right? The only thing I can do is one, be grateful. Because like you said, it's not guaranteed. I have a lot of respect for a lot of coaches that have coached the league for 30 years. Some of them never been to the finals. Some of them never been to conference finals. So I don't look at this journey and say it's been a cakewalk. I'm just looking at it and saying, man, keep my head down every day, keep grinding, keep working, and just try to put yourself in the best position possible so you can do.
We'll get back to the detail about some of those teams, but let's get back to your journey.
Watch the post, bro.
Area. Tell us about your upbringing and how basketball came
Watch this post.
Oh, man, I was the youngest of 7 siblings. My parents, old school. So my father was one of those dudes, man. He was one of the very first minority-owned business owners local in construction business. So Pops was up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Ain't got nothing to be scared about.
His whole process was, you're not going to play basketball. You're going to learn how to work on it. So at summertime, where was I? 3 a.m., I was in the car with him going to work. So really, more than ever, he taught me how to work. He gave me tremendous work ethic. But the whole upbringing of basketball was like an afterthought. And I had to sneak out.
Man, come on, man. He's blocked. Oh, my
I had to really sneak out
gosh,
and play. Because my father, grew up in a very religious household. So I couldn't go out on Friday nights.
Look at
I couldn't
this
play
crap.
basketball on Friday night, which, you know, high school basketball, the game. So I couldn't really play high school basketball. Really. I didn't get a chance to play because of my religious beliefs at the time. So Friday night, I was at home. I didn't go to dance. I didn't do none of that. So I had to find ways to sneak out and compete. How do I play AAU? So my parents got
Run it all day, buddy.
So I'm dip out and go where I want to go. But for me, basketball was just like I had to get away. I had to get away to play, and my love for the game was just at a high level. I grew up in a great family, but basketball wasn't something that was prioritized in the family. So I had to figure out ways to get around it. But as I grew, I got a scholarship, went on to play professionally. My father became a big fan of what I was doing. And so once that happened, that changed the whole trajectory of how I perceived the game and how I approached it. Pops behind me, it was a whole different story for me.
What were some of the influences you had growing up on the hoop court?
Man, Dr. J was my man. Growing up,
You see this crap, bro? Like,
turn on the TV. I say turn on the TV with no remote. We get up and turn the TV on. We'll be on like Boston, Philadelphia, ABC. So I grew up loving Doc, man. I grew up loving Jordan. Jordan was part of my era. But the guy that really inspired me as a young kid is Walter Davis. You got to be a real hooper to know who that is. Walter Davis. Greyhound. I'm looking at both of y'all faces like,
I've heard the name.
Come on, quit throwing it to him. That's all you do is throw it to him.
he was just a smooth cat.
So you think this is, dog?
He one of those dudes before that era of MJ. You know, I used to call him Greyhound. So I was a big fan of his growing up. And Dr. J and MJ, man, kind of solidified for me. Greyhound. Then I was a fan of Greyhound too. To yield tenacity.
What was the basketball culture like in the Bay Area you was growing up?
It was nasty. Stagnant. J. Kidd, GP, B. Shaw, Greg Foster, Antonio Davis. You know, so the whole culture in the Bay was pretty. Steve Nash was going to college there. And J.R. Wright. So the whole culture. You think about LA, you think about New York, you think about certain places, but the culture in the Bay was pretty deep. It was some heavy hitters. San Francisco Pro-Am used to be on point. Back in the day, Kezar, small, sweaty gym. Ray tell you about it, man.
I ain't nothing there.
Yeah, you know the key.
We won a couple different things.
He got clicked in there over the roof. He said never.
No, man. So
those are legends, but talk to the level of competition that those Kezar games, because those were NBA level summer league games.
The Warriors had a team in the Pro-Am. They had a team like their rookies, their young players. They would send them over there to play twice a week. And so the league was full of NBA players. It was full of European, like high-level European players would come over. It was ultra competitive, man. So as a young boy, 17, 18, 19, 20, you had to wait your turn to get on the court. You were one of those teams, you might not play. You know, so you sit on the bench, you're watching J. Kidd, you're watching GP, you're watching these dudes play, saying, man, can I get some burn? It was
hard flat, really?
When did you know that you wanted to pursue playing basketball in college?
First time somebody offered me scholarship. I wasn't sure because like I said, I didn't play high school basketball. I played maybe 5 games of high school basketball. I went to junior college, and that was when I really had the opportunity to figure out if I could play. I knew I could play, but could I play organized basketball? So I went to Skyline Community College. And ended up, making first team all state.
Where's Skyline?
San Francisco, right? And all these scholarship offers started coming. I consider myself a late bloomer with the game. The first time I got a scholarship offer, I was like, okay, it's real now. And so I really started taking it more serious. And it's just like, man, let me pick one of these schools. Let me figure out when I ended up going to Hawaii, but it was just an opportunity. Like, all right, let me see what I do.
Well, you had an interesting story of why you went to Hawaii. Tell us about that.
Oh, man, so the crazy part about it at the time, I was pretty close to California. J. Kidd and my American playing there. And I was at the JUCO across the way, and Cal was showing heavy signs of interest, and I was ready to commit. So one of my boys, man, playing JUCO with me, didn't have a scholarship opportunity. Hawaii was like super heavy, so they wanted me to take my visit. Hawaii was like, look, you take a visit, you gotta commit. Just fly people out here. So I said no to that. But I did tell him, I said, look, my boy don't have a scholarship, so if you guys give him a scholarship, I'll come to Hawaii. I tried not. I was bluffing. I was bluffing to get him off the trail, right? And so they were like, well, we're gonna get some film on it. They got the film and they signed him first. They signed him first. Hold on. Let me tell you the real cold part about this, Dak. I tried to back out of it. My father got wind of it, and as old school as it is, said, no, sir. You gave these people your word, you're going to Hawaii. Stand up. Man, that was one of the hardest lessons for me because I didn't want to do it. I tried to back out of it, and I really was just like, nah, I'm not going to call the coach. Coach came to my house. I was sitting on the living room couch with my father when I came home one day. He was like, hey, you can sign this scholarship over. He knew he was a good rap. I was like, man, what are you doing in my house? It was a rap.
So you were about to go to Cal with J. Kidd and Murray in Hawaii.
Ended up in Hawaii. They gave my boy a scholarship. We both went to school, though.
Obviously, you got your man in school.
Come on, bro.
And what the biggest thing for me, though, is the talk. Open your mouth.
Oh, just throw it up, bro.
So you end up choosing Hawaii. Your dad said you're going to honor your word. You go out there and play. How was that experience?
That was dope.
You had a good time?
Yeah, man. It was a culture shock for me. So, you go to Hawaii, people don't really understand like the Asian culture. It's Polynesian culture.
They don't mix them two up either. It's a problem.
Man, it was a good culture shock. It was a good culture shock. And then just being on the island, you can't go anywhere. You drive around the island 3 hours and be back into school. But that part was cool for me because I'm just trying to wake up on cameras.
What is it even available?
Good experience. No complaints.
What is it?
So, 95 draft, you happen to go undrafted, but that's a hell of a draft. Obviously, KG just inducted the Hall of Fame. A.L. Smith, Stoudemire, like oh, man. Hell of a draft. So, pick up basketball late. Junior college, Hawaii, hopes to make the NBA. You don't get drafted. What's your immediate mindset after you don't get drafted?
Man, I didn't even know. I had no clue. Really, it was just I don't play basketball, but I didn't know what the next step was. It wasn't like I had a bunch of agents knocking down my door. So for me, B. Shaw was kind of crucial. Keith Jennings, Mr. He was crucial. Mully and Tim Hardaway, those dudes were really crucial to like being in the community. Mully was a hooper. He would play anywhere. Hardaway would play anywhere. And Keith Jennings was on the word squad. He like took me and some of my friends in, and we were hooping him in the off season. And he was the one that was really like, yo, you have some talent. You can play at the next level. You can really apply yourself. So when I got out of school, all I did was work out with him as much as I could. Work out with him, stayed in the gym, and the opportunity to really change everything. We had a when I used to be serious.
Oh, yeah, he gave up. He gonna run the ball. He gave up.
One day, and B. Shaw came in. And B. Shaw, we knew each other. We didn't know each other too well. But the run was so crazy that I was just trying to clear everybody's head. He messed up what I was trying to clear your head. So B. Shaw stepped on, and I hate to tell the story, but I tried to go over his head. The whole game.
You got a big head, too.
Yeah, we ran him off the floor. And then I went and sat down. And so after we won, I went and sat down. So B's man, Glenn Graham. Glenn was like a trainer. He said, "Look, man, I need to take you. I need to work you out. Let me build you. Let me put you in touch with some agents." And that just opened up the door for me. That year was a lockout. So the Warriors had a free agent camp.
Yeah, you done.
And they had lockout ended, so look, we're gonna invite 20 local dudes coming to camp. We got 2 spots to go to training camp. And I went to that camp, feast or famine. It was like, let me go in here and show these people I can play. I was one of the 2 guys that got selected to go to free agent camp. And it was just, once I stepped into that camp, man, Spree took me in. He was on the free wall, Tim Hardaway, Chris Paul, Ronnie Cycling, B.J. Armstrong just got traded to the Warriors. Mark Price was there. So it was a team full of vets.
That year that Spree put his hands on the boy?
That was the year after that. That was the next year. I missed that. But that opportunity, like really Spree took me in, Hardaway took me in, man. They was like, it was putting the battery in power. They felt, man, you can do something. You gotta continue to work, get in the weight room. And once I saw that piece right there just kind of took off. I stayed with the Warriors for a small part of the season in the CBA. And once I got to the CBA, I just took off. Had a great season, made the All-American team. And then the next year I came back and went to the Trailblazers. Was in camp with them and spent part of the season there. And then after that, I was just like, man, I just want to hoop now. I don't care. So now I want to hoop. And my agent was like, listen, man, there's a lot of teams in Europe that pay great money, and they want your services. And I was like, all right, man, I did the NBA. I made it. Felt like I made it. I accomplished that. Now I want to hoop. So this is
Shit out of here.
So I went to Europe and never came back. Spent 8 years in Europe, man. I traveled the world. I went to France, Italy, Germany, Israel, Spain, England, Australia. Australia. Australia.
Basketball or just life in general?
Okay. The hoop scene down there is amazing.
Where were you? Melbourne
I was
City?
in Melbourne for 1 year and Sydney for 2.
Yeah.
Loved it. Like, I still go back. I got deep roots in Australia, man. But the league down there is in the summertime. English-speaking country, and they try to their whole design of the NBL is off the NBA. So they got a TV show, they got TV games. It's a dope experience.
Oh yeah.
Have a career playing basketball and diversify. That was the best thing that could happen.
You had a lot of game knowledge. You didn't have a long career. I mean, people tell stories about you back in the day, like Phil and hoop. You know what I mean? And that was always the word. I mean, we were talking about earlier with Ray. It's like, oh, Phil, some league is loaded, but you have Phil on your team.
Let's go.
Like, you had a chance. I appreciate the game. Yeah, you definitely hoop, but obviously traveling the world. Did you see any players that really like stood out to you, like overseas legends? Any looked at the kind of legends you actually played against?
So Trans Tony Parker was tiny, little dude. Tony Parker, Patriots, MP, coach.
Jack had MP game back, fresh out of France.
Andrew Gaze?
I played with Andrew Gaze. So, played with Andrew Gaze, played against Shane Hill. You know, Art Copeland, man. Bro, I've seen some of those younger dudes when they were real young. Like, TP was the one. When I saw him, he was just like 16, 17 years old. And he was running around shooting. He was running just fast.
Man, he just broke that chopper, bro. Come on.
You know, years later, come into the NBA, see Kukoc, TP, you know, these dudes were young. They were young kids when I was over there, man. So it was, you know, and I had a chance to play some good countries and some really good teams. Some EuroLeague teams and things that they played at a high level. And it wasn't a slouch. People have a wrong conception.
Just throw it up, bro. He just goes.
You know, sometimes you hear people.
Oh my God.
It's a hard translation. It's a different style of play, right? You go to Europe, some Americans have a hard time translating to where they play over there. It's a tough translation, but I think that was the best thing that could happen.
And also what happens when you get
this number, I had to go to Australia and I played at City Kings. And I'm talking about Andrew Gaze. This was 97, man. He's shooting with the head full of gray hair. Head full of gray hair. This man was unreal. Hey, stay. He was unreal. Him and Shane Hill was some of the best shooters I've seen in my life.
Yes, sir.
And I seen that in Australia. So
yes, sir. So they were problem. No gas. You know, no gas. Over there, they were playing the way Steph and those guys. You had to. They cross half court. You better pick them up. And everything, their teams were predicated around making sure they get shots.
8 years overseas, you said. When did coaching come into the picture for you?
I never think I was going to coach.
All right, let's start. Hold on, let me take it back. When did you start the training space, right? You started the training space and then went transition. So how did you go from player right to trainer?
Well, basically started giving people bags. See, what it is a lot of guys play basketball, but they don't have nothing in their bag. So they got bags, so they went to fill their bag.
Oh, man. When I was in Australia, I had some parents, kids saying, you know, kids are like big fans, would you train them? You know, could you do some workouts with them? And I started doing like workouts with some of the kids. Pull out garbage cans, send them through some drills. And every time I left the gym, man, I just felt renewed. Like it was a whole different sense of purpose. Like I got to a point to where during the season, on my off days, I was trying to train kids. Like I would leave the gym, man, and felt like I did something. I had never felt like that before. It was a totally different feeling for me. So when I retired, you know, I was just like, man, my last year in Australia, I was really just going to take a year off. Because I had played in Europe for 8 years, my parents were getting older. You know, when you play over there, you're gone for 10 months. So I spent no time in the States, so So we take a year off to spend some time with the family. And I was going to go back to my team. And we had already set up a multi-year deal for me to come back. I took that year off, man. I was like, I'm not going back. What age you at this point? I was 31. I was young. I was 31, and I was just like, I'm cool. I'm done. I got to a place where I knew I was not mentally in that space of taking care of your body, having to lock in, watch what you eat. I said, man, if I'm not going to be able to do it at the best of my ability, I'm done. I'm finished. And so I walked away from it. I was like, all right, what's next? And I went into real estate for like a year, just investment, educated myself in real estate.
Man, he just didn't call no time out to run the damn ball.
And I was like, after about a year,
man, come on, bro.
I felt like I was missing something. I was missing the game. And me and Tony Delk used to work out together. TD. This is how my career in player development kind of started. You know, me and TD used to work out, hoop together. Again, he was with the Warriors. And when I retired, you know, TD was like, man, let's get some workouts in. I'm done. He was living in Phoenix at the time. So
you down 45.
Workouts. And I went and spent a week with TD. And, man, we got some great work in. I went home. TD was like, look, we got to do this for the rest of the summer. So I would go to Phoenix from Sunday to Thursday, go back to the bank. Sunday to Thursday, go back to the bank. And every week, TD had more dudes show up to the gym, Eddie House. Eddie House, Sean Marion started coming. At the time, Stackhouse. I mean, not Stackhouse, but Stoudemire was in Phoenix. All these dudes started coming to the gym. And I was just figuring out how to work these dudes out, work with them. And TD was like, listen, bro, you have a knack for this. The way you see the game, the way you dissecting your drills and all that stuff, bro, you need to seriously consider jumping into this business. And at that time, this was 2003. Basketball industry was new. There was a few dudes. Gus Armstrong. Gus is your mentor, my mentor. Gus was one of the very few people
he caught that crap.
Was doing it. And he was doing it for years, right? So even I used to go to the gym. I said, man, let me go down here and learn from Gus. And Gus took me in, let me be in the gym. He gave me a voice. And at that point, I knew, I said, man, this is what I want to do. And so I just laid down the foundation and started a business. My very first client, true client, was a kid who lived in Marin. You from the Bay, you from the area. Marin is way out there. Way out there, Stack. And at this time, I was living in El Dorado Hills. So it was an hour and 45-minute drive. Rankin County, yeah. Rankin County. One of my first kids, I could charge this kid $25. I would drive an hour and 45 minutes. It cost more to get there, that's what I'm saying. More to put gas in the car. I charged that kid $25 and little did I know, I didn't know much about the Marin area. That's one of the most affluent counties in the country. Got some bread out there. But yeah, I didn't really understand that. I trained this kid, and this kid became one of the best players in the county. It opened up the floodgates. Next thing you know, I'm training high schools. I'm training AAU programs. So I went from one kid at $25 an hour to about 50 kids in about a 2-month span. And I was probably charging these kids $50 a session. Taking the trip. Ooh, that's a crush. See, what people don't understand, man, like my journey in this business, man, it was at over a 13-year span. Fellas, I did this for 13 years. And the way it built, it started with that one kid. I would be in Marin. I would be at Stanford. I would be at UC Davis. I would be at St. Mary's. I would be at Cal Berkeley. I had all these different pockets to where on any given day during the week, I'll be driving 500 miles to get into different gyms. The whip was the office for my bags, for my cones, but it really got to a point where that was it for me, man. I was in the gym 14 hours a day, training kids, and then it eventually started bleeding into NBA players, college players, European players, and it became a full-blown business for me over 13 years. And that was like my calling. I feel like to this day, sitting on this couch, that's what I put on this earth to do, is to teach the game of basketball and try to inspire people through that channel. It's real for me.
So, I mean, you're one of the best or you were, you still are, but obviously you have a bigger title, but you're one of the best trainers in the game. You said earlier that coaching never even came to mind, so how did that transition from training to coaching happen?
Man, when I started, I had a lot of bad coaches myself that really deprived me confidence-wise. We've all had coaches that try to tear you down. And I went into the business of wanting to train young athletes to help build their confidence. Give them a platform to say, look, this is what you can do. Put in the hard work, but you can, let me give you some confidence. I started working with St. Mary's College. And the first thing I said to myself was, look, I'm going to go in this industry. I want to be one of the best to ever do it. That was my mindset. So I started training at St. Mary's College. Randy Bennett and Mike Brown were college roommates. So Lloyd Pierce would do some workouts. This is how Lloyd Pierce started NBA. He went to Cleveland. Randy sent him to Cleveland to go work with Mike in the summertime, and then Lloyd Pierce ended up on the coaching staff. So Mike went through that whole thing, and then he got hired by the Lakers. And I was coaching St. Mary's. I coached him and training him.
Jim, I know that Maddie loves that shit. You let her watch Lucky Jim? It's a cartoon. Have you ever watched that? It's called Lucky Jim because he gets lucky. So sex. I thought it was like a leprechaun. Yeah. Leprechaun. A really lucky
players. And Randy was like, listen, man, you have to take this job. And at the time, my business was booming. My training business was booming. I worked when I want, didn't work when I didn't want. I had clients all over the place. And I was just like, nah, I'm not interested.
You took a pay cut to go to the Lakers?
I did. But here's the deal. Man, I got to a point where I was like, listen, you say you want to be one of the best in the industry, then you have to see what that looks like. In order to see what that looks like, you have to work with the best.
That's it. Oh, that's all.
Daddy, they were about to wrestle.
I know that. That's a little too violent for you to watch. Wait, did you call her? Zip it. What you mean zip it? Zip it. I gotta be throwing. Maddie can handle it, right? What I just said.
Handle what?
Jordan, what's that? Wait, I got this, right? I got this. Jordan, that's what friends are for. I got you. Sometimes two adults meet each other, right? All of them. Over this side. Got that in common. All these beautiful things. Take long walks in the park. Let me find a special something. Then they get real heavy one day. They kick you in your back. Because you're snoring while you sleep. Now you sleep with